Let me ask you something bold. If I walked into your center today, could your team tell me without a cheat sheet what your core values are? More importantly, could they show me? Too often, values get treated like inspirational quotes of the month. Something cute, maybe even laminated, or maybe on a Pinterest board in the staff lounge. But not something critical, like living and breathing in the choices we make every single day. Culture isn't built on one staff meeting or one retreat. It's built brick by brick in the micro moments. How you greet your team, how you handle tension, and how you celebrate wins. Today, we're unpacking what it really means to define and live and lead by your values in early childhood education. Because if values don't drive your decisions, then your culture is running on autopilot, and that's a dangerous place. Why your values can't be copy and pasted from Pinterest? Well, here's the things that are going to happen. Cultural mismatches happen when your values are aspirational but not authentic. And you certainly can't decorate your way to a healthy culture. Like laminated posters don't change behavior. If you want your team to believe in your values, they need to feel them, not just see them. Or generic values that lead to generic leadership. When you use the same language as every other organization, it becomes back noise. Here's some reflective questions I have for you. Which of your values do you feel is overused or vague? Think about them. And here's something that's going to help drive this a little further for you. Can you tie each value to one real decision that you made last month? And if the answer is no, you might need to look back at your values. Here's a perfect example. When you're a center and you say we're all family or we are family, which we all know lots of folks say that, including my center. But if your staff are routinely expected to stay late without notice, or you ask them to do things that are contradictory to what they have asked you, in the past to not do, but you're still doing it, that's exploitation. It's cloaked in sentiment, but that's not treating somebody like family. So think about what the values are that you have and how you're living them day to day. Now, there's a good chance you probably made your values when you made your business plan. And you probably were alone, or maybe you had a partner, or maybe you asked, one or two friends to read it over and ask them what they think. But ask your team, because sometimes you need to relook at your values and co-create them so that they're the real deal. Involve your whole team, the full team, not just leadership, the teachers, the teacher assistants, the van drivers, the admin staff. Everyone sees culture from a different lens. So make sure you're asking them. And document team stories in a shared space. Like maybe you can create a culture chronicle, which is one of the things I want to do at my school for the summer. And what I'm thinking is you can take your team and everybody can contribute little anecdotes that reflect your values. And maybe, put some type of visual together as an anchor. You can do a mural, you can do an art project, or you can do a team-led video. But ownership grows with creativity. So ask your folks to show you how values look like in real life. And get clear on the opposites, right? So for every value, there's going to be its shadow. So if you say empathy is one of your values, well, what's the opposite? Being dismissive, being harsh. Use this to guide behavior. You could even do some work around this at your monthly workshops or meetings. I like workshops because everybody's kind of in learning mode. But maybe you could ask people tell me about a time that you felt fully aligned with the work that you do here. Or maybe you ask your staff this, because I was just talking about this last night in a staff meeting. But what do you want the center to feel like for new hirees or families? Well, here's even a better one. What do we never want to become. So ask your team these types of questions at your next workshop. You're going to learn a lot about what people feel about the values and if they're aligned, if they buy in, if they think they can be better. But avoid that aspirational hijacking, because when you choose values that feel impressive but are so far removed from the current reality, that's not going to work. So choose what's true right now and use those values to grow. Maybe your values are, we want all of our children to leave here to have great character, right? But you do nothing in your curriculum around character development. So make sure they align. And you can use your values to hire people, to fire people, to coach people, to celebrate people. Here's some quick examples. So maybe during the hiring process, you add a value alignment into your interview rubric. Maybe you can ask them, like, what kinds of team cultures help you thrive and what ones don't. Or if integrity is one of your values, maybe you're documenting behavior patterns, not just performance gaps. Maybe having a conversation that links the exit decision directly to the breach value. Like maybe our value of honesty requires clear communication. This pattern of avoidance undermines that, and we can't move forward in this way. So, connecting it to your values. Or even when you're coaching, ask team members to self-assess against each value quarterly. Maybe during feedback, always lead with, here's the value I see you living, and here's where I see the gap. Perfect example. I love community service. I think community is so important. So maybe it's, hey, Miss Jane, I really appreciated you taking the lead on the coat drive this month. And then you also collected more cans than any other classroom last month at the food drive. And the month before that, you really got all your kids on board to making those cards for the fire department. Great job. I really see you embracing our value of community. Here's where I see the gap. Families are really important to us. And I feel like you spend a lot of time communicating with some families, but other families, I feel there might be some avoidance. Can we talk a little bit more about that and figure out a plan to move forward so that all families feel engaged and feel updated on their child's learning, growth, and development? And that's how you do that, so that it's all really framed positively. And it also aligns with your values. And you could do fun things too, like creating culture wins. Like maybe if you value collaboration, maybe it's like collaboration queen or kindness captain, right? So when you're thinking about awards that you do for your staff, whether they're weekly, monthly, shout outs, whatever it is, even during your team huddles, do something around that. You can even let your families nominate staff for values-based recognition. Here's a great one. When I saw you step in to help calm a new student, even though it wasn't your classroom, you embodied our value of whole center support. Thank you for showing up and showing that we are all in this together. So that's a great example. So think about what your values are. Maybe make some of these scripts for yourself on how you can really take the pulse of where you are and take a look at, are you really embracing these on a daily basis? Now, how do you spot a fake, or how do you know when something's kind of been forgotten? Well, listen to the talk in the hallway. What do people say when leadership isn't in the room? And if it's sarcastic, if it's resentful, your values are slipping. And avoid the selective values trap. Do some team members get held to a higher standard than others? If one teacher is constantly praised despite violating all the team norms, people will notice that. And then you're going to lose trust with your team. And also, are we only rewarding outcomes? Or are we also looking at behaviors? Do I constantly refer to our values and our decisions, especially the tough ones? And are there current policies in direct conflict with our stated values? Because that can happen too. So I want you to think about how your values come to life in your daily routines. because your culture lives in your calendar. If your daily, weekly, and monthly rhythms don't reflect your values, they're not going to stick. And create rituals, not reminders, like a Monday huddle where one person shares a value moment, or a daily gratitude jar to value appreciation, end of the day check-ins, which this is a really great one because we will very often check in at the end of the night with our team to make sure they've locked the door, to make sure that they've done their cleaning checklist, to make sure they've logged all the kids out of the app. But maybe ask them this: which value showed up for you today? Now that's what's living the values, right? Having them think about, what did they do today that aligned with your culture and the things that are important? Make it consistent and simple language. It doesn't have to be, this big whole thing, like 1 or 2 words, right? Family, community, passion for teaching, professionalism. Tell me how any of those aligned for you today. You can even create visual symbols or emojis for each value and post them near the classrooms, or use them on a team chart. And designate value ambassadors. Each month, let a different team member lead a value spotlight. They can host a quick challenge, a shout out competition, really just get creative. But how values shape your family culture too is also important to think about. Like, share how you live your values, not only with your team, but your families, because that's going to build transparency and alignment. And something really fun, like a creative idea, is like a values bingo card where staff check off when they see a peer modeling a specific value, and then celebrate when a row gets filled. How fun is that when we celebrate each other? Lead from your values. Don't just post them. Be the first one to model the hard parts, right? If you don't lead with kindness when it's convenient, you lead it when you're tired, when you're frustrated, when you're short-staffed. You have to model it then too. It's really easy when everything's going great. But let your team see you struggle with value and you work through it anyway, right? So because it's hard. There's hard days, right? But you still got to be kind. Call yourself out too. Share moments when you missed the mark and how you corrected it. And don't let convenience override your conviction. If a decision is easier but not aligned with your values, you've got to pause and reassess. And stories are more powerful than any bullet points ever. That's why people listen to podcasts. They listen to stories of other people. But share your personal experiences that help anchor your values and real life stakes. And define what leading from values look like. Hold the line on boundaries, even when demanding families are like, nope, I don't want to do that. I'm not following that. Stand by the teacher when they do the right thing, even in the hard moments. And saying no to opportunities that would compromise your center's culture, it's a no. Don't build a culture on slogans. Build it on how you show up every day. And I want you to repeat that to yourself. We don't build a culture on slogans. We build it on how we show up every day as leaders. So I hope this helps you really think about the values in your program. Go back, look at where they're posted, look at how are you living them daily, how are we seeing them daily in action, are they aligned, do they need to be rethought, and involve your team in it and make it fun, because when things are fun, people jump on board. So I hope this has been helpful. If you like today's episode, please give us a rating, give us a review, tell a friend, whatever your heart calls to. Thank you so much for tuning into the Childcare Director's Chair podcast. I'm your host, Erica Scosio. I hope you have an amazing day.